Hello, welcome to Algebra 1 and of course Part 1. We're going to go over a review as far as what's covered on your final exam or end of course. So let's go ahead and get started. So number 1, what value of x will make the equation 2 times the quantity x plus 18 minus 4x equals negative 4 times the quantity x minus 5 true? So if you take a look here, we have parentheses, and what we're going to do is distribute the 2 to everything that's within the parentheses here. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 2 times x and 2 times 18. Let me tone this down just a little bit here. So we have 2 times x, we know is 2x, plus 2 times 18 is 36. Bring down your negative 4x equals negative 4 distributed to the x is negative 4x. And negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20. So the goal here is to combine like terms and isolate x. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and combine my terms. So I have 2x minus 4x, which is negative 2x. Bring down your plus 36, and I set that equal to negative 4x plus 20. So now what we want to do is isolate x. So how can we do that? We can do that by subtracting 36 on both sides. Okay, now I always like to get my variable on the left side whenever possible. So as you can see, we have negative 2x here and we have negative 4x here. And by the way, the 36 is cancel out. So what can I do to keep the x on the left side? Well, I can add 4x to both sides and see how this gets rid of the 4x's. And so we have 2x is equal to negative 16. So to isolate x, I'm going to simply divide by 2 on both sides. And we can see that x is equal to negative 8, which is answer choice A. So let's move on to the next question, number 2. Number 2, which best describes the graph of g of x equals negative 5x plus 7? So as you can see, g of x is just fancy for y. So this is simply y equals mx plus b, which is our slope-intercept form. So all we have to do is determine what the y-intercept is and what the slope is. So we know that the slope here, m, is negative 5, and the y-intercept, b, is positive 7. So what fits this description? And if you take a look, our correct answer is answer choice B. So notice it says a line with a slope of negative 5, which is what we have here, and a y-intercept of 7, and that's positive 7 here. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. Number 3, what is most likely the slope of the line graphed on the coordinate plane? If you take a look at the line here, we can see that it is vertical. So that means the y values are changing. So it only makes sense that this is undefined because our x value is at 2. So the answer is answer choice D, undefined. And simply because if you notice that the line is vertical, then you know that is undefined. Okay, and that's the keyword slope. So let's move on to number 4. Number 4, which ordered pair represents the solution to the system of equations? So we have 2x minus 5y equals 0, x minus 4y equals negative 3. So the goal here is to solve for one of these variables, whether it be x or y. And so I'm going to take the elimination approach here. So we're going to go with the elimination method. So we have 2x and then we have x. So I want to eliminate x. So since I have 2x here and x here, what I can do here is use this equation here and multiply by -2, because the goal here, like I said, is to eliminate one of the variables, and that will be x. And then the next thing to do is to go ahead and distribute to each term. So we have -2x, -2 times -4y is +8y equals -2 times -3 is +6. So I'm just going to rewrite this right underneath here. So we have 2x minus 5y equals 0. And then I'm just going to add down. But notice the -2x and the +2x cancels out. So we no longer have the x here. And then we have 8y minus 5y, which is 3y, is equal to 6. And divide by 3 on both sides. And so y is equal to 2. So we can eliminate all the answer choices except for answer choice A. And that is the correct answer. Now, for peace of mind, and the reason why I said that this is the correct answer is because 2 is the only y value here, whereas the other ones are other values besides 2 in the y position. Okay, but for peace of mind, let's go ahead and we're going to use y equals 2, and I'm going to start plug this in back into the original equation to find out what x is. So we have x minus 4 times 2 equals -3. So we have x minus 8 equals -3. So notice we have -4 times 2. That's where the -8 came from. Solving for x, we're going to add 8 on both sides. 8's cancel. X is equal to -3 plus 8 is +5. And as you can see, that's what x is here. Okay, so let's move on to number 5. Number 5, what is the solution to the following inequality? 5 times the quantity x minus 5 less than or equal to 5. So what we're going to do here is treat this as if we were solving a regular equation. The only difference is that we are solving an inequality. So let's distribute this 5 to each term within the parentheses to clear the parentheses. So we are distributing 5 to x as well as to -5. So that's 5x minus 25 is less than or equal to 5. So what we're going to do here is isolate the x, and we can do that by adding 25 to both sides. And so the 25's cancel out. We have 5x is less than or equal to 30. And so x is less than or equal to 6. So notice what I've done was divided by 5 on both sides of the inequality. So x is less than or equal to 6 is answer choice C. Okay, let's move on to number 6. So number 6, which equation best models line n? So if you take a look at this line, we have a vertical line and it runs through the x value of 1. So that means x is equal to 1, which is answer choice A. Let's move on to number 7. So number 7, which quadratic equation has solutions of 3 and 5? So we know that x is equal to 3 or 5. So what we have to do here is set each to 0. So we do that by subtracting on both sides of the equation. So in order to make it equal to 0. So that means that we have, let me change the color here. We have -3 that we're going to subtract on both sides. So x minus 3 equals 0. And then we're doing the same thing with x equals 5. So we're subtracting 5 on both sides. And we have x minus 5 equals 0. So what we have to do is set these two factors here equal to 0. So we have x minus 3 times x minus 5 equals 0. And so the next thing you have to do is distribute. So we have x times x, which is x squared. And then we have x times negative 5, which is negative 5x. And then we have negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x. And then negative 3 times negative 5, which is positive 15. And this is all equal to 0. So all you have to do here is distribute, or combine like terms. So we have x squared, and then we have negative 5x minus 3x, which is negative 8x, plus 15 equals 0. And so your correct answer choice here is answer choice D. All right, let's move on to number 8. Number 8, graph y equals 4/5 x. This should be an x right here. 4/5 x minus 3. Okay, and so as you take a look here, we have the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So remember that your m is your slope and your b is your y-intercept. So when we're graphing, we always like to plot the y-intercept first. So this is at negative 3. So we'll go down on the y-axis and we'll plot a point at negative 3. So we have 1, 2, 3. So plot the negative 3 there. And then we have 4/5. So remember, this is your rise over run. So remember, your rise can go up and down the y-axis, and the run is left or right on your x-axis. So we see that our rise is a positive 4. That means we're going to move up 4 points. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. But we don't stop right there. We have to run 5, and that's over to the right because this 5 is a positive number. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so when we plot these 2 points, and then we draw a line, this is what we have. So I know that's not really that straight, but you get the point. Okay, and so that's how it looks. Let's move on to number 9. Number 9. This is the graph of a system of linear equations based upon the graph, which is the apparent solution to the system of equations. So here we have the orange line and we have the purple line, and we have to determine where these lines meet or intersect, and it's right here. So what I'm going to do is drop this point down to the x-axis, and it stops at 2. So that's x. And then from here, I'm going to go over to the y-axis, and it drops at 1. So that means that our point is 2, 1. And so that is answer choice C. Let's move on to number 10. So number 10, which is an example of the distributive property. So this is the key word, distributive. So I always like to say that we use distribution to remove or clear parentheses. Okay, and so take a look at answer choice B, which is the correct answer, by the way. So we have 7 that's being distributed to the x, which is 7x because we're multiplying, and then 7 being distributed to the 2, which is 14. So we have 7x plus 14. Okay, that's the answer choice B as stated. Okay, let's move on to number 11. Okay, number 11, which graph best represents the equation of the line y equals negative 3/4 x plus 5? So as you can see, this is slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. So b is your y-intercept, which is 5, and m is your slope, which is negative 3/4. So let's go ahead and take a look at the graphs here. I'm going to start off by taking a look at the y-intercepts, and if they're at positive 5, then we'll take a look at discover them further. But in the meantime, what we'll do is take a look and eliminate as we go. So as you can see here, out of the y-intercept, this is at 4. So we can eliminate answer choice A. What about B? So this is at, let's see, the y-intercept of positive 3. So we can also eliminate answer choice B. Taking a look at answer choice C, well, we have positive 5. So that is our y-intercept. But also, since this is at positive 5, let's take a look at the slope. So our slope is rise over run. So since this is negative 3, that means we are going to go down 3 units on the y-axis. That's 1, 2, 3. And then 4 is the run. So we're going to move across 4 units to the right on the x-axis, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is not the correct answer choice because it's not at 4. Okay, now let's take a look at answer choice D. So we have the y-intercept at 5, and then we can go down 3 units on the y-axis because of the negative 3. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then taking a look at 4, we can move 4 units to the right on the x-axis. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we are right there. Okay, so answer choice D is the correct answer choice. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to number 12. Number 13, which of the following is a solution to 9x squared plus 9x minus 18 equals 0? So we're going to factor out a 9 because we have a 9 that's common to each term here. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we're going to place what's left over within the parentheses. So that is x squared plus x minus 2. Okay, and you can see that is correct because we can go ahead and distribute. So that's 9x squared plus 9x minus 18. All right, and then we'll go ahead and place our 2 sets of parentheses here, set them equal to 0. And so we're going to look for factors here. Now, let's take a look at the negative 2. We need to find the factors for negative 2. Because the ultimate goal is to look for a product that equals negative 2 and also at the same time adds to positive 1. So there's an unwritten 1 here in front of the x. Okay, and so let's list the factors of negative 2. So the factors are negative 2 and 1, as well as positive 2 and negative 1. So now, which 2 factors will multiply to give us negative 2 and also add to 1? Well, that's 2 and negative 1. So we'll place these in the parentheses. So we have x plus 2 and we have x minus 1. All right, and so we're going to set each factor equal to 0. So we have x plus 2 equals 0. And then we're going to solve for x. And then we have x minus 1 is equal to 0. And so we're going to subtract 2 on both sides here. And so x is equal to negative 2. And then we're going to add 1 here to both sides. And x is equal to positive 1. So we see that x equals negative 2 in the answer choice. So that is answer choice B. Let's move on to number 14. Number 14, which is an equation for the line that contains 3, 4, and has a slope of 6. So taking a look at the answer choices, we see that they're all in slope-intercept form. So that's what we're going to use, y equals mx plus b. And we're going to plug in what we have. So we have x and y, and then we have the slope of 6. So let's go ahead and plug in these values. So we know that y is 4 and m is 6 times, and then x is 3 plus b. So what we're going to do here is solve for b, which is our y-intercept. So we have 4 equals 6 times 3 is 18 plus b. So we want to solve for b, so we're going to subtract 18 on both sides. Okay, so we have negative 14 equals b. So that means our y-intercept is negative 14. So we can go ahead and begin eliminating answer choices. So we can eliminate answer choice A, B, and D. So we know that the correct answer is answer choice C. But for peace of mind, let's go ahead and go ahead and solve that. So we have y equals, and then we already said that m is 6. So we have 6x, and then our y-intercept is negative 14. And so that is the same as y equals 6x minus 14 in answer choice C. Okay, so let's move on to number 15. Number 15, which inequality is equivalent to 6x minus 3y less than or equal to 9? So what we're going to do here is solve for y. So let's go ahead and rewrite this inequality. So we have 6x minus 3y less than or equal to 9. So the first thing I'm going to do here is eliminate one of the variables. And so what I'm going to do is, since I want to solve for y, I want to remove 6x from both sides. So we have negative 6x over here minus 6x here. And so the 6x's cancel out, and so we're left with negative 3y is less than or equal to negative 6x plus 9. Okay, and so now what I want to do here is solve for y. So I'm going to divide by negative 3 on both sides of the inequality. Okay, and remember, since we are dividing by a negative number, we're going to flip the inequality symbol so it becomes greater than or equal to. The negative 3's cancel out, so we have y is greater than or equal to, and we have a negative 6 divided by a negative 3, which is a positive 2. Bring the x along with that. And then 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. So that means the correct answer choice here is answer choice B. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to number 16. Number 16. What is the slope of the line that passes through negative 1, 5 and 4, 7? So we have slope of the line. So that means we are going to use the slope equation. So remember, the slope equation is m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x of 2 minus x of 1. We can use this equation. However, I want to show you another way that you can do this, because what you're doing really is subtracting. Because if you remember, your slope is change in y. Oops, let me erase that. That's your change in y over your change in x. So we have change in y over your change in x. All right, and so let's utilize that. So what I'm going to do is stack these numbers on top of each other like so. So we have negative 1, 5, and we're subtracting minus 4, 7. So stay consistent with your change in y over your change in x, all right? So we have the y values here. So we have 5 minus 7 over your x values are negative 1 minus 4. And so that's equal to negative 2 over -5, which is the same as 2/5, because remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So your correct answer is answer choice C. And it doesn't matter in which order that you stack these numbers as long as you're staying consistent. So even if you placed 4, 7 over 1, 5, you'll get the same answer. Or yeah, -1, 5, that is. All right, and go ahead and try that out. And or you can use this slope equation if you want to. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to number 17. Number 17, in addition to a $100 bonus, Juan earned $15 per hour working last week. Juan's total earnings last week were $300. How many total hours did he work last week? So we can solve this two ways, by using a proportion, or we can solve this algebraically. So let's go ahead and use the proportion method first. So since we know that Juan earned $15 per hour, well, it only makes sense to set this up as $15 per hour. So that's 1 hour, right? Set that equal to, and see, since his total earnings were $300, well, we're going to place the $300 on the top, because I like to express this by saying given ratio. This is the given ratio, $15 per 1 hour. Set equal to, then that's just $300 per how many hours did he work last week? Well, we don't know that, so we'll use the variable h, okay, since we don't know. And then we have like units. Like units are always next to each other. So if you notice, we have the dollar amounts next to each other, and we have the hours next to each other. So what we're going to do here then is cross multiply, because we need to determine how many hours he worked, right? So we have 15 times h, which is 15h, which is equal to 300 times 1, which is simply 300. And then we can go ahead and solve for h by dividing by 15 on both sides. And so the 15's cancel out. We have h is equal to 300 divided by 15, which is equal to 20. So that means that he worked 20 hours, which is answer choice C. Now, let's go ahead and solve this algebraically. So since we know Juan earned $15 per hour, we can go ahead and set this up. Let me change the color here. So 15 hours per hour working last week, and his total earnings were $300. So we have this keyword were, all right? So we're going to set this equal to $300, okay? How many total hours did he work? Well, we don't know that, okay? But we know that he earned 15. So that's 15 times h, because we don't know how many hours, right? And set that equal to, and I said that were is our key word here, $300. So 15h equals 300. So doing the same thing, you're just dividing by 15 on both sides and solving for h. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to number 18. Number 18. Tammy paid $13 to buy 2 youth tickets and 3 adult tickets to a school fair. Stephen paid $19 to buy 2 youth tickets and 5 adult tickets at the fair. What was the price of an adult ticket? So as you can see here, we are solving systems of equations. And the reason why is because we have 2 sets of equations that we're looking at. So the one with Tammy, where she paid $13 to buy 2 youth tickets and 3 adult tickets. And if you take a look at the second equation, we have where Stephen paid $19 to buy 2 youth tickets and 5 adult tickets. And then we need to find out what the price of an adult ticket was. So let's set up this first equation. Okay, so let's go ahead and mark the keywords first of all. So we have paid, which is equal to, and then we have 2 youth tickets. And so since we have 2 youth tickets and 3 adult tickets, we're going to set these up with variables. So we have 2y, the y standing for youth, and then 3 adult tickets, will classify that as 3a, where the A stands for adult. Okay, and then the same will occur with 2 youth tickets and 5 adult tickets. And then we have adult ticket, and that is A. Okay, so we're solving for A. So let's go ahead and set this up now. So since Tammy paid $13 for 2 youth tickets, and I forgot to place our plus right here, and this plus, 2 youth tickets and 3 adult tickets. So we have 2y plus 3a equals $13, and I'll just say 13. Okay, now let's set up the second one for Stephen. So Stephen bought 2 youth tickets, so we have 2y plus 5 adult tickets. So we have 5a equals, and he paid $19. So what I want to do here is solve for a. That's the ultimate goal anyway. So the thing is about these two systems of equations, we have to eliminate one of the variables. And so when I take a look at both equations, I see that I can eliminate y. And the reason why is because since I have 2y and 2y, I can set one of these equations to a negative, in negative form. And so I'm going to multiply this top equation by a -1. And the reason why is because when I distribute this -1 to the 2y, it becomes -2y. So let's go ahead and do that. And remember, we have to distribute to each term within the parentheses here, okay? So we have -1 times 2y, which is -2y. -1 times +3a is -3a. And we're also distributing this -1 to 13, which is -13. Okay, so as you can see, we have 2y, -2y, which cancels out. So we're left with 5a minus 3a, which is 2a, is equal to 19 minus 13 is 6. So now we are solving for a here, so we're dividing by 2 on both sides here. The 2's cancel. And so as you can see, a equals 3. And so that is answer choice C. So that means the price of an adult ticket was $3. Let's move on to number 19. Number 19, what is the value of 2x minus y divided by xy when x equals 2 and y equals -4? So all we're doing here is plugging the values in for x and y. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 2 times, and we can see that x is 2, so we'll place 2 here. And then we have minus y, and so y is -4, so I'm going to surround -4 by using parentheses here. Okay, and then next we have x, y. So we're multiplying those two values together. So we have 2 times, oops, so we have 2 times -4. Okay, and then we can go ahead and solve this. So we have 2 times 2, which is 4. And notice here we have a negative times a -4. So you can look at this as being a double negative, which is a positive, or you can say to yourself, well, there's an unwritten 1 here, and that's saying -1 times -4, which is the same as saying +4. And this is over 2 times -4, which is -8. And so as you can see, when you do the calculation, we have 8 over negative 8, which is the same as negative 1, which is answer choice A. Okay, so let's move on to number 20. Number 20, which equals 2.5 times 10 raised to the fourth power times 3.3 times 10 raised to the fourth power. So as you can see here, we are working with scientific notation and specifically multiplication. So in this case, what you have to do is take a look at the coefficients and you multiply those together first. And so when you multiply 2.5 times 3.3, you come up with 8.25. Then we go ahead and multiply our bases. And since we have a base of 10, which are the same, then if you take a look at the exponents, you go ahead and add the exponents together. So 4 plus 4 equals 8. So that means that the correct answer choice is answer choice B, 8.25 times 10 raised to the 8th power. Let's move on to number 21. Number 21, which expression is equivalent to what we have here? Beginning with everything in the first set of parentheses, we'll set this up vertically. So we have 6x squared minus x plus 7. Moving on to the next one, we have 5x squared. We're just going to set this up right underneath. We don't have anything with an x, so we can leave that alone. We have negative 9, we'll place under here. And then we have negative 3x squared. And then we have plus 5x, negative 4. Okay, so we are going to calculate what we have here. So we have 6x squared plus 5x squared is 11x squared. 11x squared minus 3x squared is 8x squared. So we could begin eliminating answer choices. So we know answer choice D is out. And then we have negative x plus 5x, which is positive 4x. And so we can go ahead and eliminate answer choices C and B. And so we know that the correct answer is answer choice A. But for peace of mind, let's go ahead and continue on. So we have positive 7, negative 9, minus 4. So we can go ahead and add negative 9 and negative 4 together, which is negative 13. Negative 13 plus 7 is negative 6. So answer choice A is the correct answer as stated. Let's move on to number 22. Number 22. In simplest radical form, the square root of 768 is equal to which of the following? So if you take a look at the numbers inside the square root here, we have 768. So when we add these numbers together, we get a result or a sum of 21. And so 21 is divisible by 3, which only makes sense that 768 is also divisible by 3. So what we're going to do is take and divide 768 by 3. So 3 goes into 7 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract 6 from 7, we have 1. Bring down the 6, 16. 3 goes into 16 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract 15 from 16, you have 1. Bring down your 8, and that's 18. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So we can rewrite this as 3 times 256. Now we have to decide what comes out from underneath the square root. Well, 256, and the reason why is because the square root of 256 is 16. But what stays underneath the square root is 3, because 3 is not a perfect square. Therefore, the correct answer choice here is answer choice C. So let's move on to number 23. Number 23. Which polynomial is equivalent to 10x to the fifth plus 14x divided by 2x when x does not equal 0? So what we're going to do here is take and break these apart. So as you notice, the two terms are separated by a plus, and they're both being divided by 2x. So let's go ahead and separate them. So we have 10x to the fifth divided by 2x plus 14x divided by 2x. All right, so what we're going to do here is take and divide 10 and 2. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. All right, and so x raised to what number? So since we have like bases, or the bases are the same, that means we can take and subtract the exponents. So since we're dividing, we're subtracting exponents, right? So 5 minus 1 is 4, so the exponent becomes a 4 here. So we can right away eliminate answer choice D. Now we have plus 14 divided by 2 is 7. And as you can see, the x's will cancel out. So that means the correct answer choice here is answer choice A. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to number 24. Number 24. What is the complete factorization of x squared minus 4x minus 12? So what we have to do here is look for factors that will give us negative 12, but will also give a sum of negative 4. So let's go ahead and list the factors of negative 12. So we know that the factors of negative 12 are 1 and negative 12, as well as negative 1 and positive 12. And then we have 2 and negative 6, as well as negative 2 and positive 6. And then we have 3 and negative 4, as well as negative 3 and positive 4. So which pair of numbers will give us negative 12 as a product and give us a sum of negative 4? So we know that 1 and negative 12 is out, or 1 and negative 12 is out, negative 1 and positive 12 is out. And then let's take a look at 2 and negative 6. Well, we know that 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, and 2 minus 6 is negative 4. So we found the answer here. So we have 2 and negative 6. So the rest of these do not apply, so we can just eliminate those. So we have x plus 2 times x minus 6. All right, and that is answer choice B. Let's move on to number 25. Number 25. Which statement could be represented by the expression y squared plus 6y? So before looking at the answer choices, let's go ahead and interpret this expression using our own words. So we have the square of a number plus 6 times a number. So which one of these answer choices is true to what we've just stated? Well, taking a look at answer choice A, we have the square of a number, which is what we have here, increased by, which is the same as saying plus, by 6. But we're missing times y, or times the number. So answer choice A is not the correct answer. What about answer choice B? Well, we have the square of the product of a number and 6. That isn't remotely close to what we have stated here. So eliminate answer choice B. Answer choice C says the sum of 2 times the number and 6 times the number. Well, again, we have to have the square of a number, or a number squared plus 6 times the number. So let's eliminate answer choice C. So the answer choice here will be answer choice D, because it says the square of a number increased by 6 times the number, which is what this expression is saying. So answer choice D is it. Now we're going to move on to number 12 because I've mistakenly skipped past that in the middle of this lesson. So we'll go over that and then we'll end part 1 of the EOC, or Algebra 1 final exam. Number 12. An outside theater costs $1,400 to set up. If tickets sold for $4 each, the profit P made at the theater by selling X tickets is given by the equation shown. the equation is P equals 4x minus 1400. The question asks, what is the slope of the line representing this equation? So this is our keyword slope. We're looking for the slope of this line right here. And so remember, this is y equals mx plus b. So just recognize that this equation right here is slope-intercept form. So what is the slope? Well, that's our m value. So that is 4, which is answer choice D. So that wraps it up for Algebra 1 Part 1 EOC, or the final exam. I wish you the best of luck, and I look forward to working with you in Part 2.